Fellow warriors, welcome aboard the Joshticle! With the huge outbreak of Dynasty Warriors 9 gameplay shown off at ChinaJoy 2017, there is tons of news to cover. Recently, an interview took place between Famitsu and Suzuki Akihiro, who is the producer of Dynasty Warriors 9. In it, lots of juicy infos were revealed. If you wish to skip to a certain segment of the interview, use the timestamps in the description. So without further ado, pull out your meat buns and let's jam! So a good chunk of the interview mentioned stuff we already know, so those segments will be skipped. However, if you'd like to read the translated interview for yourself in its entirety, feel free to do so by clicking the link in the description. Of course, none of this would be possible without the translating skills of my good old buddy, Kite. He's been translating Musou related info for almost a decade. You can trust him. As such, show him some support by checking out his Twitter and Patreon. Now let's start off with the segment regarding free mode and replayability. Famitsu mentions that players would want to replay eras multiple times. Suzuki responds by flat out saying that there is no actual free mode. However, he then says that in the absence of free mode is a new structure/system they are thinking about where the player is able to replay an era. Suzuki continues by repeating a statement from an older interview by saying that they are still deciding whether or not the player can change their characters in the middle of an era. To be frank, the absence of free mode is shocking, as it was and always has been a staple of the series. However, given the structure of Dynasty Warriors 9 with the open world aspect and era system where battlefields are part of the land instead of their own instance, it does make sense to drop it altogether. And considering the fact that they are creating a system to replay an era with or without changing characters, I wouldn't worry too much as the soul of free mode is still very much there. Replayability has always been a strong point of Musou games, so don't fret. Up next is a tidbit regarding difficulty. Famitsu asks, can the game difficulty be freely changed like usual? Suzuki replies that they are taking a new approach to difficulty, where it isn't completely set in stone. Therefore, in order to manipulate the difficulty in the player's favor, he or she will have to boost their character's level or clear regular missions for an advantage. However, Suzuki continues to say that the traditional difficulty system of past games where the player could choose to play on easy, hard, or chaos is still being considered. I really do hope they implement the option to change the difficulty because part of the fun in Musou games is playing at your own pace. If you want to breeze right through the game without breaking a sweat, you can play on easy. And vice versa, if you want a hardcore ass whooping, you could play on chaos. Also in the interview was a portion about weapons. Famitsu asks, speaking of weapon elements, can we also enjoy collecting strong weapons just like before? Suzuki responds by saying weapons can be obtained from missions as rewards, and yes, elements, presumably fire, ice, flash, etc., can be attached to them by, quote, a separate feature. Presumably through a blacksmith or something. Moving on, Suzuki continues to say that in regards to powerful hidden weapons, aka the all-powerful fourth weapons in past games, the method of obtaining these is being changed. No specifics were given except that it will be even more challenging and it will require obtaining weapon blueprints, which in and of itself is also very difficult. All I have to say is bring it on, Omega Force, bring it on! I've pursued Lubu for over a decade. I'll be the judge as to whether or not this will be a decent challenge. Then comes a segment on the open world aspect. Famitsu states, the fields are vast, so it would be also fun to take detours indeed. Suzuki says, we are developing this game with a setting so that there is no place the player character cannot go into. Under this setting, that means you'll be able to move towards all places. If you use new actions like wall kicking jump and using grappling hook to climb high places, you may be even able to reach steep places. Did that really just rhyme? Anyways, moving on. There are also ideas like searching for treasures or enjoying commemoration photos in secluded regions, so we'd really like to consider those. Oh my god. Omega Force is totally adopting the Breath of the Wild philosophy. If you can see it, you can get there. Say no more. Omega Force, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. Please, blow my freaking mind. Also, you can freaking wall jump? That is insane. How awesome would it be if you could combo the grappling hook and wall jump to climb anything? That'd be sick. Before we move on to the meat and potatoes of this interview regarding the combat, here's a quick rundown of the minor segments that revealed other neat things. When asked about playing as Dongjo, which, spoiler alert, the answer is yes. Suzuki confirms that many of the playable characters are unlocked by progressing the story. Next, when asked about the degree of freedom in the story, Suzuki mentions that the story is divided by over 10 eras. And lastly, when asked about players learning new actions as they level up, Suzuki says that while these growth features were not included in the game build shown off at ChinaJoy, they do exist, and they are working on balancing them. Okay, onward to the best part of the interview, the new combat details. First, we have a segment where Suzuki responds to one of Famitsu's general questions of combat. Suzuki states, and I quote, "In order to add more variety to the action, we've also implemented forward rolling evasion with the R2 button." Yes! Yes, 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 yes! That is exactly what I wanted to hear. Dodge rolls, a feature in Dynasty Warriors 6 that never showed up again, has finally returned. We've had many similar mechanics in the past with double jumping or shadow sprinting, but damn, it feels good to finally have an actual evasive option for battle. This is a huge deal because dodge rolling in the more recent Musou collaboration games like KoeiWarriors allowed you to cancel any attack with a roll. Therefore, the combo potential would be endless and full of crazy possibilities. It's what sets apart the casuals from the hardcore warriors. Thank you, Omega Force. Thank you so very much. Secondly, Famitsu asks, when you're attacking enemies, sometimes there's a triangle button mark showing up above an enemy's head. What's this system? Suzuki replies with, quote, "This action is called react attack. It is shown on occasions, such as when you might be able to counter enemy attacks, and if you press triangle at the right timing, it will unleash a react attack to change the enemy situation. Even when you're mashing square button, the react attack input will be prioritized, so it will be also easy to be used by people who are not too good with action." End quote. As we've seen in the ChinaJoy gameplay, react attack is pretty much the Mighty Strike from Samurai Warriors 4 with a new name. That's fine with me since it'll add just a tad more depth to the combat. Also, I love how Suzuki throws shade at people who mash the square button towards the very end of his statement. Freaking hilarious. Next, Suzuki responds to another generic question from Famitsu with some crazy insight on another aspect of combat. He says, quote, "We're implementing the state combo system where the action changes based on enemy situations. The basic attacks don't change with still mashing square button. But by pressing R1 and either triangle, square, or X buttons at the same time, you can forcibly change the enemy situation. This is called trigger attack, which starts a combo. From this trigger attack, other than changing enemy situations to be juggled in the sky, stunned, or toppled down, it will also connect to the square button attacks." End quote. Wow, just wow. Yes, we already know about trigger attacks, but not to the extent that it was explained here. Man, where to begin? After watching some of the uploaded gameplay, here's my understanding of the state combo system. I already made a video on it, but if you need a refresher, the state combo basically consists of trigger attacks, which lead to flow attacks, which then lead to finishers. The square button is still the same old normal combo string which can be used in any situation. This is our base moveset. Since trigger attacks are activated by pressing R1 with any of the 4 face buttons, square, triangle, circle, and X, that means once you choose the initial trigger attack, I assume the square button is how you will input flow attacks, the combo strings for that trigger attack. Then at the very end of each flow attack is a finisher, which is also presumably executed by the square button. Did that make sense? So it seems like the state combo is really built on a philosophy of freedom. Instead of being locked to a certain combo like the charge system back in the older Dynasty Warriors games, you have the freedom to adapt to any situation. Beautiful! Though, I have a question. What purpose does the triangle button serve when not being used for a trigger attack or react attack? Because if history is any indicator, X is for jumping and circle is for Musou attacks. Bingo! When you think about it, Omega Force never outright said that the state combo would replace the charge system. It was just something us fans assumed based on their previous statements of this brand spanking new system. Perhaps the old school's charge system still exists and the state combo is just another mechanic tacked onto it. Or maybe I'm just an idiot who is looking way too deep into this matter. Whatever the case may be, until we get to see more gameplay and receive more info, just remember that the state combo is not Rambo 2.0, and so far it's looking like a true evolution to the Musou combat formula. Honestly, I'm impressed. Omega Force are pulling no stops with this game. And man, just thinking about the day we'll get our hands on this game is making me giddy. And before we say our goodbyes, there's one more thing worth mentioning. At the very end of the interview, Suzuki says this, and I quote, "I'd like to prepare a special gameplay video for the Japanese fans, so I hope they can watch that first. Of course, we are considering to have some kind of exhibit at Tokyo Game Show 2017, so please look forward to future information batches." End quote. Everybody, mark your calendars, because Dynasty Warriors 9 will be at this year's Tokyo Game Show, and as tradition, you already know I'll be here to deliver you the goodies. However guys, that's it for the video, so until the next batch of juicy infos, stay tuned for more Musou greatness. I'm OhhhhMyJosh, and remember, do not pursue Liu Boo.